Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. We are finishing up our first wave of 2022 NFL Draft prospect rankings. We're finally doing the quarterback position. It's gross. It's a tough
It's not
one.
an exciting year for quarterbacks, that's for sure. You had five guys who go above the top guy for this year, I think. You could argue.
It's bad, but I do have a lot of thoughts on these quarterbacks because I think they all bring something a little bit different, and we can get down into which prospects you'd want. I think there's some scheme-specific guys. Before we do it, just appreciate everybody watching the video. Like, subscribe, help the boys out. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Still, let's get into it. QB1, Kenny Pickett. What have you seen in this guy's film that you like so much?
It's tough. He's like super solid. I think
solid.
He's the most steady guy there is. Like he doesn't miss the throws he shouldn't miss. He's a solid athlete. I think he's well composed in the pocket, even though he didn't have a great offensive line this year. And he's just a solid, but the problem is I see him as basically Mitchell Trubisky. Like that's kind of what I see when I watch his game. And Mitchell Trubisky, I don't think is a bad quarterback in the NFL, but he was overpicked. That's probably true.
So Kenny Pickett, when I watch him, I think I have similar things you noted. His pocket presence is phenomenal. I mean, there's not a lot of quarterbacks in this draft that run more of a pro scheme offense. So it's very RPO heavy. Matt Corral, Sam Howell, both very RPO heavy offenses where they're not really asked to go through progression, step up in the pocket. It's more of like one read, let it rip. Kenny Pickett was very good at stepping up, kind of like pretty comfortable with like stepping up, manipulating the pocket and delivering a good football. I also really like, he's no world burner athlete, but he uses athleticism maybe besides
He's a
Malik
Trubisky
Willis.
athlete. He's a Trubisky athlete.
But like
No, he doesn't use it better than Corral.
Maybe
not even Ritter. So I don't know.
Well, the thing with those guys is I think they like Corral looked to tuck it away a little quick. Like Kenny Pickett only used it like when he needed to extend plays. Like, and then you got Malik Willis who's just playing backyard football out there. He's just tucking it away.
Fair.
So Kenny Pickett's a guy who used the athleticism to extend plays and give his guys opportunities to get open downfield. Also, one other thing I just need to know: Jordan Addison is an absolute dog.
He's a stallion.
He is so good, man. He was open all the time. He runs the cleanest routes, and him and Kenny Pickett had something electric going on. I'm excited for Jordan Addison in 2022 college football season. Kenny Pickett's just the most pro-ready guy. He was the most pro. It was easily like the most pro.
Hands though.
Yeah, but that is what it is. I know some teams will take it off his board, and I'm not one of them.
That's stupid.
Yeah, I think we both are kind of under the impression.
You got the Bills picking EJ Manuel in the first round, basically because of hands, and obviously that didn't work out so great.
But Kenny Pickett, just going through his progressions, he's also really good at like layering his throws in zone coverage. I have in my notes, throwing his guys open in zone coverage. He's very, very impressive, but he doesn't have like the elite traits that in Matt Corral, maybe
that's my problem. It is very reminiscent of Mitchell Trubisky in my mind. Just really good college play, but it's like he didn't have Josh Allen abilities or Patrick Mahomes abilities or even like a Sam Darnold. Just there was something missing that's like, well, there's not like a ton of magic in the game,
and you can win with Kenny Pickett, but you'll need to surround him with talent. I think maybe a little Mac Jones-esque, where it's like I can't do it by myself, but you give him a solid run game to work off. Because the Pitt offensive line wasn't very good, the run game wasn't very good. Kenny Pickett was making it work, but you give him some talent to work with. I think he can be a very good quarterback at the next level. And there's also one other thing that, like, when you look at his body of work, this guy's been in the college game for a while. It's always getting better. Him and Desmond Ritter, for the most part, have just steadily been improving. I think they're both 3-year starters. So that's also something that's intriguing. Let's look at a quarterback, Malik Willis, who is probably the opposite of Kenny Pickett in the sense of a prospect. The intangibles are absolutely bonkers. He makes some mind-boggling throws. Obviously, the athleticism. But the consistency, the ability to go through progressions, That was a problem. And he's out there.
Taking care of the ball at moments. I thought it's like, fumbles and in pocket, be trying to do too much in the pocket. And I will say, like, yeah, when he's bumping up against a top Power 5, or not even a top, but a Power 5 team, where he's by far the best player on his team and probably the only guy you can drive a win in those games. Like, I kind of get playing.
Yeah,
you gotta play with some reckless abandon at times.
He tried to do too much, but it was also like he had to do too much because that Liberty team outside of Malik Willis on the offense side of the ball isn't great.
It was not as good as it was last year, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's why you saw a little bit more of Malik Willis didn't put the ball in harm's way nearly as much in his 2020 film as he did in his 2021 film, but that was because they're playing a little bit better teams, and he's pressing pretty hard. I have in my notes backyard football, and it's maybe a concerning amount where it's like he's just scrambling around the pocket, acting like he's out in the seventh grade, acting like he was me out there, seventh grade of recess, absolutely breaking kids' ankles. That wasn't me, but could have been.
Perhaps.
But he's out there, just there's not much structure to his play, and that tends to not translate at the next level.
Well, the problem is like there's no structure. Like the offensive line, when they bumped up on big teams, could not block anyone.
Couldn't do it, yeah.
So it was a little chaotic, just not by his fault per se, but that is the thing. I mean, if he put the year together like he did in 2020 again in 2021, he's probably the easy number one overall.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what he has that maybe is as good as anyone in the draft or probably better is just really premier talent, both running and throwing. So he's got a real cannon.
Okay, so his cannon, he probably might. I mean, like, I know Carson Strong was like the guy, he's got dummy arm strength, dummy arm talent. Like Malik Willis does as well. He makes some throws that are incredible. And there's one other thing that I've said on other podcasts, if you guys listen, like Malik Willis's athleticism, I think is much closer to Lamar Jackson than it is to Jalen Hurts. I think you can legitimately use this guy and his athleticism as a scheme in your offense, kind of like what the Bills do with Josh Allen too. Like there are a bunch of design plays to get Josh Allen the ball in his hands because he's that dangerous of an athlete. And he's 220 pounds. Like he's a thick dude. He's not that tall. But
he's a strong 220. He's strong 220. He's big.
Big Brain Jay was on Malik Willis because I saw his quads when I went in like 2020 when he's working out in COVID.
Ooh, yeah,
like,
really.
He's got a thick lower half. He's got a running back lower half, and he was a running back with the football.
He's got a running back body. That's straight up.
And so he can run the ball 10 times a game, and I wouldn't necessarily be too worried with the health as long as he's not taking massive hits. Josh Allen a little less so because he's not as like thick. I mean, Josh Allen's a big dude, but he's not as like quite as thick as Malik Willis is. Malik Willis is thick. Like he's a you said it, running back body. He has the ability to like scheme him touches. Right. And yeah. So I like Malik Willis. I think the ceiling is certainly the highest. And if I'm a GM and maybe I've heard Detroit Lions like him at 2. I personally think that's a little high
crazy because there's some stars in the top 4.
So yes. And I think 3. They'll have a top 5 pick next year where they can go get a quarterback that's has had better film and has those same traits. Also, but like if you're a team like Seattle picking 9 now that wants to take a flyer on a quarterback that has tremendous upside, Malik Willis is the guy. I think more or less than anybody else because if you get his full potential, his ceiling is significantly higher than anybody else's in this class. If you can get out a lot of ways like Josh Allen, like let's hone in this cannon. He's got a rocket. Let's try to like get it a little bit more accurate because half the time you just don't know where that thing's going. But I like his game a lot. It's just it wasn't as consistent as Kenny Pickett, so I really put it as 1A, 1B in the sense that Kenny Pickett
kind of depend on what you're looking for and what your scheme and your
like the Saints. If the Saints wanted to take a quarterback, I would take Kenny Pickett because I think they have enough talent around him. Maybe if Mike Thomas comes back, but they got Alvin Kamara, you maybe draft another wide receiver. That defense is good. The Kenny Pickett could make that team a playoff team. Malik Willis needs a little bit more developing. He needs a little bit more season on him.
I think there's an element of just being a little unsure. It's like what you're getting because again, he didn't play in a system that I think allowed him to play elite competition with a good set that you could kind of judge him for what he was. So
yep, I agree. Matt Corral, number 3. I don't know how I feel about this. Matt Corral's he's very accurate. He made a lot better decisions with the football. He also was a guy that had to play a little bit more hero ball in 2021. I mean, in Tennessee, I think he had 25 carries, and a lot of it was because they were banged up at wide receiver. Nobody could get open, and Matt Corral just had to take the game into his hands. I have a lot more concerns with him running the ball at the next level because he's not nearly as big.
He's small.
Already has had some injury problems. What do you think about Matt Corral here?
I mean, this is where it gets tough for everybody, really, besides Desmond Ritter. And because Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Sam Howell all played hyper college, where it was all RPO. It looked very much one read and throw. In that, obviously, with the way Matt Carrell, and I think you mentioned it earlier, he does look to run very quick. And that was kind of consistent, whether there was a lot of pressure, whether there was a little pressure. He was very quick to take off. So it does concern you. As a pro, you have to get through reads. You have to be comfortable sitting in the pocket. And again, you can make the same case against Malik, against Corral, against Sam Howell, because they all played in a system that was designed all right, no read, tuck it and go.
Matt Corral, I think more than anybody else, everybody says he plays fast. That's that's a good thing. A pro of Matt Corral's game that you're getting is fast play. But I just think that was a product of the Lane Kiffin offense. His play style. I have questions how it translates to a non-Lane Kiffin offense. In him and Sam Howell's case, I'd say Matt Corral the most. There was very little time where they asked him to drop back, take 5-step drop, step up, and deliver ball. It was from the gun, stick in the running back's belly, pull it, and then let it rip. And so, he played fast, but he wasn't asked to go through those progressions that you need to make happen at the next level. His film was awesome. He was really good this year.
He was good.
It's just how does that translate to the NFL level has some serious questions.
Yeah, because it was hero ball. He was a good enough athlete. And I think he's a good athlete. I don't think he's an elite athlete.
No, yes.
So Sam Howell, I don't know how that translates to that whole game. I'm kind of with you. I think in terms of production, he was as good as anyone. In terms of how important he was to that team, as good as anyone. But
you saw when he left in that bowl game.
Yeah,
it was.
But again, it was a Johnny Manziel, a little bit reminiscent, some very hero ball that doesn't always translate. Sam
Howell's a guy that could have been QB1 if he had the season he had in 2020. But the problem is loses his 2 running backs who were 2 of the best running backs in the country. Loses 2 wide receivers who 2 of the best in the country. And the production was not nearly as good. The film wasn't nearly as good. He was erratic with the football at times. He was also a guy that tucked it in and ran it effectively, like Matt Corral. But it's a couple knocks on his game. Let's get to the pros first. His arm strength's really good. He rips.
He's got a hard.
He throws it on a frozen rope. He's accurate with the football for the most part. Now, one other thing is he's an absolute tank too. Him and Malik Willis have very similar body types. They're not that tall, but they're thick. And Sam Howell, I remember our Wake Forest linebackers who, this is not saying that much because the Wake Forest linebacking play has been pretty bad for years now. They couldn't tackle him. I mean, Sam Howell is just bouncing like a pinball.
He's a house. They did have a problem with him.
And he can also run the ball at a high level. He has similar questions to Matt Corral, I think, is how is that RPO heavy play style going to fit in the next level? But he has the arm talent.
Throws a nice deep ball. I'll give him that.
Yes, deep ball,
especially in 2020 in 2019.
Yeah,
with the star wideouts. I wouldn't say he had a great crew working. They did drop balls on him,
and the offense. There was some. It wasn't a good team this year.
And I mean, I think he probably contributed a little bit to it by not having the most or the greatest awareness. It seemed like he was walking into sacks here and there, walking into pressure, not doing enough to avoid it. But again, there was bad O-line play. That's not to excuse that.
One more plus on Sam Howell, because I don't have like a ton of strong opinions, because I think the talent's there. I think the arm strength is there. It's just a lot of question marks about how that game's gonna translate to the next level. He's a warrior. I mean, he was.
I will say, yeah, he was that.
He didn't slide. He just would take on contact, for better or for worse. He was playing dinged up all year. The season wasn't
just
going
competitive.
well.
They needed him.
They needed him.
Very similar to Matt Corral.
I give him a lot of credit for exactly for them. He put on the pads every Saturday and went out and played for a team that was I think 5-6 at one point this year.
Yeah, pretty bad.
And he went and gave everything he had, even though it was looking like he'll be a first round pick next year. I love that. I like that a lot.
But I will say, I think, and you could probably say this for all four of these guys besides Kenny Pickett at the top of our list, they all do miss way too many easy throws. I think there is Kenny Pickett didn't miss anything he wasn't supposed to miss. Everyone else kind of, you have the head scratchers, which really hurt you in the pros. I feel like you can't miss 5-yard outs that are wide open or put it behind guys and make it a hard catch. It just can't happen. And I do think that happened to all four of them at the top of our list besides Kenny Pickett.
Maybe Matt Corral too, I think, was a little bit more solid with the easy consistency, accuracy. But I agree, this class really struggled with consistency.
Corral didn't throw well enough on the run though. He didn't complete easy throws on the run, and for a game where he's on the move a fair amount, I thought he missed. Again, even those throws on the run, he has to hit them. And I think just occasionally he's dumping them in the dirt or they're a little erratic. And in his game, he probably needs to be able to make those.
And everyone's game, you said it best. At the next level, you got to make those throws happen. Desmond Ritter.
I want to love Desmond Ritter so much because I think he has very much. He's big. He's got the prototypical size. He's a very good athlete. He's a good, solid runner. And he made some throws. One that stands out to me is the Notre Dame game where he ripped one up the seam, right in under a line or over a linebacker under the safeties. He made some throws that are all right, this is top end ability. But then again, you turn around the next play and he's throwing one right in the coverage and he's staring receivers down and I mean, probably could have 2 or 3 pick sixes.
I think it was the first 2 snaps of the game. It was just simple out routes. I think one was to Alec Pierce, and he just stares him down. And this was going for 6 the other way if the lineman doesn't block it, batted down the line of scrimmage. And it's for a guy who's been there for, I think, 5 years, you would expect that to not be there on the film that much. And he's also a guy, I don't want to take it away, he's also just trended up. Like Kenny Pickett, been there for a while, has gotten better every year.
He wins too.
And he wins. But he has too many of those things where dude, you are a 5th-year senior. You can't be doing that anymore. Well, that's got to at some point stop. And it didn't really. He also, Youngtown's good. He also, he ran a 4.5 at the combine. That was impressive. The
problem is he doesn't have the same ability to generate the speed quickly enough.
He's not elusive.
He's not a great escaper, which I think I'd rather have you run a 4.7, but be Johnny Manzielish than
Kenny Pickett looked more of an athlete. His athletic tangibles flashed on film more than Desmond Ritter. Not because he's a better athlete, but because he used that athleticism a little bit better. Same thing with Matt Corral. Matt Corral's a genius. He was a Houdini in the pocket a lot of times. You get out of some crazy stuff. Desmond Ritter, not so much. He's another guy that they tasked him with doing all the protections. He had a lot on his plate, and that's a good sign. Being able to.
He played pretty pro style, I thought, compared to everyone else.
I don't hate his game. I think he could sneak his way into the first round. I think if teams, I don't know. It's these I'll tell you what. After Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, who I really like Kenny Pickett's game on film. I think he was the best quarterback last year. And then I really like.
I don't even know if I agree with that, but.
And then after those two,
I think you could lump Malik personally into the other group. I think Kenny Pickett a little bit stands alone because he really was the most solid. He's the only one who I really didn't think like there were notable like things you really wish you didn't see. There maybe were things you wish you like kind of had the ability to do, but God, he was really solid. No, I just didn't see it with anyone else.
Yeah. I think Kenny Pickett easily had the best film, but then Malik Willis is like physical intangibles, I think, have to be attractive.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is he made such good throws, such good runs. Like I remember a couple throws in Syracuse that are just like, wow, that guy is a star. Like, man, if he did that all the time, he'd be a star. But
Carson Strong, I'll start with him. I forget which game I first watched him.
Utah State or something.
I was disgusted with him at first because it's like that knee's a problem. He looked like he was on a peg leg, like being able to like manipulate the pocket, get out of the, like extend plays for his wide receivers to get open. Like it wasn't there. He was horrible moving, and he doesn't have the ability. Like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they were bad movers, but they were great at manipulating pocket, stepping up, and delivering a football. Carson Strong didn't really show that. The games got better for me. I think he's got a very good arm. He's accurate for the most part. Him and Cole Turner and Romeo Doubs, they had a nice thing going at Nevada. Things you worry about, strength of schedule. It's not bad in the Mountain West, but it's no SEC. So that's one thing you worry about. Two, the mobility. Because if it's going to be that big of a problem, and the knee's like a serious concern. Like he's had a really messed up knee. He's got like, I was reading, he's got like tissue in it that it needs to take. So you have some serious medical red flags as well. Like the arm's good. A little bit Ryan Malady though. Like yeah, he has a howitzer arm. He's like accurate, but like there's not much.
I just didn't see dominant. I mean, he didn't dominate at Nevada. He just didn't kill it. Like Malik Willis, when they went and played bad teams, he killed them.
And Malik Willis was clearly the best player on the field. Carson Strong can't really say the same. Carson Strong was a good Mountain West quarterback.
If I didn't know who Carson Strong was while I was watching like Nevada games, I feel like I wouldn't have been like, oh wow, that's a first round pick.
Yes,
like, and not that he is, but I just wouldn't have thought that.
He went out in the Senior Bowl and was like bad.
Was he?
He had like trouble like taking snaps. He had trouble taking giving the play at the line of scrimmage. And then Romeo Doubs like wide open, and this was in the bowl game. Like his guy, Romeo Doubs, wide open, and he like severely underthrew him into an interception. Like it's a touch that like I don't know if it was just a missed throw or like a miscommunication, but it was bad. He did not look good. So Carson Strong.
That's my problem. I don't know. You got to dominate at Nevada. If you don't dominate, that's tough for me to say. Like I really am high kind of on the player.
Yeah, I agree. And he had some weapons there, too, because like Cole Turner and Romeo Doubs.
It was a solid team for the Mountain West for sure.
That being said, I had a preconceived notion that he was real bad. I don't think it was as bad as I thought it was. I think there's still day two value in him because the arm talent's there. But like, let's check the knee out. Last one that we got, Bailey Zappi. I watched the film on him. I don't think you watched too much on him. I mean, he slings it. Like he's very consistent, and there's something to say about the numbers he put up. He broke Joe.
Scored a lot of points.
Scored a lot of points. That offense was a running gun, spread him out, and just throw it all over the yard offense. And he was really good in it. The conference was bad though. Like when you watch the film on him, you know it ain't the SEC, and it's really not close. Like the speed of play wasn't there. Just that's
the problem. Everybody puts up a zillion points in those conferences. It's like the games are just high scoring.
He was at Houston Baptist a year ago, and so it's like he has not played at a high level.
Also, like, do you think like the physical trait? Like, does he have a?
No, it's just average. That's the last thing I had. That's the last thing I had to say. He's 6'1", 210 pounds, and it's just a very middling to maybe even below average arm. The only reason he's a draft prospect is because the stats are just unreal. And there's some value to like you said Carson Strong didn't dominate enough. He took a Western Kentucky team that was not very good. And he made them almost a conference winner. Probably should have won a conference championship if they had another quarter against UTSA over cash for the boys. It's just I mean, like him stepping up to the NFL is going to be like 5 times the play speed. And it's like, that'll be an adjustment. And I just don't know how well that's going to go. He's a backup. He's a backup that I think he can come in and make some throws. He's consistent. He's accurate at football, maybe the most accurate of all of them. But it's just like
over the man, Kenny.
It's really hard to compare.
Yeah, because there's a lot of space.
Because that's what it was, though. Like almost all these teams are like rushing 3 and just playing a super off zone to try to contain this area. There's a ton of space underneath. And he made the throws. Like he did what he needed to do against the competition. It's just, again, question marks on like, can you make that happen at the NFL? Because
there's a reason you go to Bama, that's for sure.
He is a very average athlete with very average traits. But the stats, the film was good. He put up numbers. He dominated. There's one other guy I want to mention, EJ Perry from Brown. I just watched his highlights.
Don't know. Didn't even know that name.
4.640. He's got Daniel Jeremiah said it, and I kind of agree. He's got a little like Colt McCoy to him. Like, and when you talk about like going up and getting like a
wow, is that like a good?
No, it's not.
I guess Colt McCoy's been in the league.
It's a backup, and there's some value to having backups as a rookie contract.
Yeah,
he's a winner. I don't know. Like he made it happen. It wasn't always pretty, but he moved the sticks. Maybe like a Taylor Heineke would be another good like comp. Athletic, he knows when to scramble. He can make the throws that you ask him. Just don't ask him to do too much. I think Jack Cohen a very similar way. Maybe less athleticism, but Jack Cohen's also like very, very accurate. Like Jack Cohen's another guy that will be a solid backup in the league because he is very accurate with the football. He's smart. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way much. Notre Dame runs kind of a similar, like, we're not going to ask you to do too much, but you need to make certain throws. You need to move the chains when you need to. And Jack Cohen did that. I mean, Notre Dame had a great year with him. So
that's fair.
That's a wrap on just a very underwhelming quarterback class this year. There's a reason we did this last. Kenny Pickett's my clear quarterback 1. I think just like if you watch the film, like hand size be damned. He's very good.
I was joking. I don't care.
Yeah, he played in Pittsburgh outdoors. Like the weather wasn't great, and it never seemed to be that big of a problem. Yes,
slap the glove on that and get it going.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So he had the best film. Malik Willis, I think, has the best traits, and then I think there's a real logjam between Matt Corral, Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter. I think
that's the only place we vehemently disagree. Is I think Desmond. I think the 4 of them behind Kenny are very much closer to each other than like
the play maybe, but Malik Willis has more tools. He has
Desmond Ritter has like tools. So do all of them. Like Mac or Sam Howell especially has a real live arm.
No, they don't have the athleticism. They don't have the effort. They all have the same arm, but what Malik Willis brings is like I'm telling you, it's much closer to Lamar Jackson. Like you can use this guy's wheels. Matt Corral, Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter, their athleticism is like I can extend plays, but you're not going to design me touches to make something happen. Malik Willis, teams are going to be able to design him touches, and he's going to be able to make stuff happen because he's like the best ball carrier in the country last year. He broke the most tackles more than.
That's a fair argument because it is true. Like his arm is not like any better or worse per se.
I think
than
it's
any of those
personally the best in the class too. Like pure.
Well, I'm just saying his overall throwing. I'm not just talking about the arm strength. I don't even that. Who cares what his arm strength is?
Yeah, I guess that's probably fair. But the athletic tangibles is something that
that's a fair argument.
Can be special. Well, then you're trying to lump him with Matt Corral, Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter.
I'm saying I think it's a fair argument. I don't know if I like going along, but it's a fair argument.
So right.
It's a fair argument to say he has very similar throwing ability right now to those 4, and obviously he's a better runner.
Matt Cross or Malik Willis. I
do think coming out of Liberty hurts him personally. I think I'd rather have him be out of
100%
big school.
I mean, that generally
I'd take
schedule. Yes, I agree. Because when they played Ole Miss, like that offense wasn't.
It's chaos.
It's like Malik Willis. Like that offense stunk.
It wasn't his fault, but it was chaos.
Yeah, it was chaos. They couldn't block. They couldn't get open. That's a wrap on the quarterback class. Kenny Pickett, I didn't expect to like him as much as I did. He's a legit first-round talent. I hope he goes to the Saints because I think he can make that team competitive. The rest of the guys, it's like they're projects, man. They're projects that you got to get into the team.
But they do have talent. I will say it's a talented bunch. Like,
it's talented. It's just bunch. It's athletic and talented. This is
obviously it's not last year. Last year's quarterback class is really way better.
I think next year is going to be a really good quarterback class too, at least at the top. I think CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are going to be some awesome projects. We'll see if DJ Uiagalelei can get it together. Once again,
he plays.
Yeah, facts. Once again, we appreciate you guys for rocking with the ROC Boys. Like and subscribe to the video as usual, helping the boys out. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.